I moved into the apartment on a Tuesday. It was a second-floor unit in a quiet 3-story building on the edge of town. I'd just gotten out of a rough breakup and needed a reset. The place was older but charming, creaky floors, yellowed walls, that kind of worn-in feeling that's either comforting or creepy depending on the hour. The apartment above mine had been vacant for months, according to the landlord. Something about renovations that were never finished. So when I heard footsteps up there the first night, slow, deliberate, heel-to-toe pacing across the ceiling, I figured I was wrong. Maybe someone had moved in last minute. By the third night, the pacing turned into dragging. Long, heavy movements, like someone pulling a bag of wet clothes, or worse, across the floor. I asked the landlord about it. He just gave me a weird look and said no one should be up there. That night I stayed up. No TV, no music, just me on the couch, lights off, listening. It started around 12:40 a.m. A thump. Then dragging again, back and forth, like someone was pacing while pulling something heavy behind them. I crept to the hallway and stood under the ceiling. The sound was directly above me. I tapped on the wall. The dragging stopped. I don't know why, but I whispered hello, like some idiot in a horror movie. The ceiling creaked. Then I heard footsteps, light ones this time, cross the room directly above me and then line up perfectly with where I stood. Dead center. And then 3 knocks. Not from above, from the inside of my front door. My chest went cold. I walked over and looked through the peephole. No one was there. I opened the door anyway. Nothing. Just the empty hallway. But when I turned back, I noticed something on the floor just inside the threshold, 3 small, wet footprints. Child-sized, leading into my apartment. The next morning, I bought a cheap digital voice recorder and left it running in my living room overnight. I wanted proof of what I didn't know. Maybe I thought if I captured the sound, it would feel less crazy, like it would prove something was really happening. I didn't sleep that night, just stared at the recorder's little red light blinking in the dark, listening to the faint sounds from upstairs start again. Pacing, dragging, a creak like someone sitting down in an old chair. At 4:17 a.m., the light on the recorder shut off. Dead battery. It had been fully charged. In the morning, I plugged it in and hit play. Hours of nothing. Then, at exactly 2:03 a.m., there was a whisper. Not from me, not from anyone I know. Just a soft voice, close to the mic, saying, "Don't look up." That was it. But what got me wasn't the voice. It was what I hadn't heard while recording. At 2:03 a.m., I was standing right underneath that ceiling, staring up, trying to make out the noises. I finally decided to check out the apartment above me. It had started to feel personal, like whatever was happening wasn't just random noise anymore. It was aware of me. I called the landlord and asked if I could see the upstairs unit, pretending I was curious in case a friend wanted to rent it. He hesitated but agreed to meet me there the next day. The door was sealed with a padlock. He fumbled with the keys for a while before opening it. "I haven't been up here in a long time," he muttered. Inside, it was cold. No power. Dust everywhere. But the weirdest thing? There was nothing in it. No furniture, no appliances. Just one single wooden chair in the center of the living room, facing downward, like someone had been sitting in it, staring at the floor. I walked around, trying not to spook myself. But then I saw something that did. On the far wall, just above where my bed would be downstairs, were deep scratch marks in the paint. For vertical lines. Repeated. Like someone or something had been clawing from the inside, trying to get out. The landlord saw my face and said, "Yeah, that's why I never finished the renovations." I asked him why. What happened up here? He looked at me for a long second and just said, "A kid died up here. Alone. Years ago. Nobody found him for days." After seeing the upstairs unit, something shifted. The sounds got worse, louder, angrier. The dragging turned into banging. I'd come home to lights flickering, faucets dripping. Things would move, just slightly. A chair not where I left it. A door opened that I'd closed. Then came the whispering. It started in the walls. Not like voices through the walls. In them. Too muffled to make out the words, but definitely human. Low, constant murmuring. I'd press my ear against the drywall and it would go quiet. One night, it got so bad I called a friend to stay over. We set up sleeping bags in the living room like we were kids again. I didn't tell him everything, just said the place was weird. Around 3 a.m., he shook me awake. "Do you hear that?" We both sat there frozen. From inside the wall behind us, we heard soft knocking. Then, louder. Right at the baseboard. Like someone crawling inside the wall, knocking from the inside out. We didn't sleep. The next morning, my friend left and never came back. That same day, I found something behind the vent in my bedroom, a crumpled drawing on yellowed paper. Child's handwriting. Stick figures. One figure was lying down. The others were standing over it with what looked like long nails or claws. At the top it said, in shaky letters, "He watches me from the floor." I couldn't take it anymore. One night, around 2 a.m., the time the whisper had said, "Don't look up," I did the opposite. I looked down. I lay on the floor in the dark, cheek to the wood, staring at the ceiling above through the gaps in the floorboards. Nothing. Just shadows and silence. And then, I heard breathing. Not mine. Slow, shallow breaths under the floorboards, between me and the ceiling above. And that's when it clicked. All those sounds I'd been hearing, they weren't coming from the apartment above. They were coming from the crawl space between the floors. That impossible sliver of darkness between one level and the next. Something was living in there. I stood up fast, heart pounding, and looked down one more time and saw it. Two eyes, wide and glassy, staring up at me through the cracks. And then the whisper clear, right next to my ear this time. "You finally saw me."